Dear 10th standard students, welcome to the Samveda E-class to all of you. Dear students, today we are going to learn a new lesson, very interesting topic from sociology, and you should ready with your pen and papers so that you can write down and note down the points which are very important, which I am going to tell you. Children, before we start this lesson, let us see some images. So, now the images are played on the screen. Try to find the differences between these two images. Well, children, these two images says that the first image is the house of poor people, or it's a hut. In second image is a mansion or a bungalow. So, the poor people live in huts, whereas the rich people live in bungalows. So, the facilities they enjoy are totally different, right? Okay, children, in this image, try to find the differences between these two images. In these images, you can see men and women. You know, there is discrimination on the basis of women and men. Though we are in 21st century, some rights are denied for women. So, these differences also can be seen in the society, right? Okay, children, let us see one more pair of images. Again, you try to find the differences between these two images. What do you find here? Yes, very good, children. In the first image, you see a person who is working under scorching sun. He is working under burning sun. Whereas, in the second picture, a person is working in an office. So, the facilities both are enjoying totally different. The person who is working under hot sun, burning sun, has no time limit. He doesn't have fixed time of work. He doesn't have fixed salaries. Whereas, the person working in office has got fixed time to work, fixed salary, and other facilities like medical facility, leaves, pension, and other facilities. So, this is how there are differences in the societies we can see, right? Children, now, what do all these pictures indicate? Think over it now. Yes, children, you are right. These pictures show that there is inequality in the society. Social hierarchy is present in the society, and the people are categorized in the society. On the basis of their status in the society, they are categorized, right, as lower, upper, rich, poor, superior, inferior. Right, children? Okay. Now, children, we shall study the first chapter of sociology, that is social stratification, which tells about the inequalities present in society. Okay, children, what you are going to study in this topic? You are going to study about social inequality, social stratification, untouchability, and you are going to study about the legal steps taken to eradicate untouchability. Well, children, now let us start from the first learning point, that is social inequality. What is social inequality? Stratifying people according to various qualities is called as social inequality. So, which are the factors or the qualities that stratify the people in the society? Yes, they are gender, caste, profession, class, and race. On the basis of all these factors, people are classified into different classes. And even today in society, there are social inequalities. Inequalities can be seen in income sources, educational and professional opportunities, health facilities, political representation and political participation. Children, this social inequality is the result of already present unequal social opportunities. And this is continued by providing unequal access to materials, resources, income, opportunities, recognitions and status. So, let us take an example how these social inequality present in the society. By neglecting the social service sectors like public health system, public education, social security, the life of the poor has become difficult. So, in the society, we see that rich people are getting good educational facilities, whereas the poor people are not able to get good education. When it comes to the point of health, rich people are getting good health facilities, whereas the poor people not. So, these are the inequalities present in the society. Well, children, so far we studied about social inequality. Now, I am going to show you two more pictures. Now, you can see these pictures on screen. So, what these two pictures say? Yes, children, you are right. The first picture says that the children are learning in a classroom, whereas in the second picture you see a child is working. So, these are the differences found in the society. Some children, those are coming from rich families, they go to schools, they get education, they play with their friends, they learn how to write, how to read, they sing, they dance, they play with their friends and participate in other cultural activities. Just imagine of the child who is working in the second picture. He has to work to lead his family, to lead his life, and he doesn't have the facility to get education. So, this is the inequality present in the society, and this child is a child labor. So, children who are below 14 years and working, they are called as child laborers. So, here he is denied by his right to education. This is how the inequality is also present in educational system. So, this is the second point, that education and inequality. So, you may be thinking, children, why should we need education? We need education because this is a special structure. It is a special structure which brings in equal opportunities. It brings openings and it brings social justice in the human life. So, it is the duty of the government to provide equal opportunities to all the children in the society. Can be seen in our directive policies and the preamble of our Constitution of India. So, we see that there is differences in the society while getting education. Some people, some children are able to get education, whereas some other children are not able to get education. So, our Constitution has made some provisions to provide education to the children in the society. So, now let us see what are the constitutional provisions that our Constitution has made to bring equality in society. Okay. The first one is that article number 39. So, article 39 says that providing social justice and welfare of people is the duty of the government. So, the government should provide social justice to its citizens and achieve welfare of the people. So, what is welfare of people? Providing all kind of facilities, health facilities, educational facilities and other facilities. And article 45 says that all children under 14 years should be provided with free and compulsory education. See, these articles provide a hope in the children that they should get education. And similarly, article 21A, it says that free and compulsory education to all the children between 6 to 14 years is a fundamental right. So, this was incorporated in our constitution through the 86th amendment. So, education is now a fundamental right. This right should not be denied to any child, right? And Article 29 says that protection of cultural rights of the minorities is the duty of the government. It provides protection of cultural rights of the minorities. With that, Article 30, it provides establishment of minorities in educational institutes in the country. So, there is a provision for them to establish their educational institutions. And Article 46, it says that government must support the educational interest of the scheduled tribe and the scheduled castes. So, these are the constitutional provisions that are provided to bring or achieve equality in the field of education. Children, in its judgment, Supreme Court has said that the entire education structure beginning from Anganwadi to higher education should be seen from holistic perspective. So, what is this holistic perspective? Education with holistic perspective is providing development to every person mentally, physically, intellectual and their creative potentials. So, development of these potentials of the person is holistic perspective. That means education must develop all the qualities in the children. It is not mere reading and writing. It should make the children to face the problem. So, it is all-round development of the children. So, children, it is the duty of the government to provide education to all the citizens of the country, and it is their basic right. And this right to education is a part of right to live. Article 21 says that it has provided for the right to life, whereas Article 21A it says that a right to education is a fundamental right of children. So, right to education is a part of right to live. Children, after seeing this all, now let us move to one more important learning point of this chapter, and that is gender inequality. So, what is this gender inequality? So, gender inequality is discriminating on the basis of sex, male and female, right? Okay. There is more gender based inequality in access to school education, food and other health facilities. So, we see often discriminating on the basis of education, food. The women are not able to get all kind of facilities. Since ours is a male dominated society, patriarchal values are followed in India. Men has more powers, they are enjoying more powers than women. And what are the things say that there is inequality, gender inequality in our country? See, according to National Family Health Survey, which was conducted in the year 2015 and 16, 60.9% of the children between 6 to 56 months have severe anemia. They are suffering from anemia. What is this anemia? Anemia means it is the lack of healthy red blood cells in blood. And 45.2% of the pregnant women are also suffering from anemia. So, all these things show that there is gender inequality. Why these people are suffering from anemia? Can any one of you answer? Yes, children, you are right. These are suffering from anemia because they are not able to get nutrition food, health facilities. So, it is the duty of the government that it should look after that the food and health security should be given to the women and children. Students, now let us move to one more important learning point, and that is social stratification. So already you have seen that how social inequality is present in the society, and the social stratification is the part of that social inequality. So what is social stratification? There may be a chance of asking question on this point. What is social stratification? So what may be your answer? Yes. The method of dividing people into different strata and assigning them different roles and status in the society is called as social stratification. Categorizing the people on the basis of their race, on the basis of their education, on the basis of their profession. So this is what? Social stratification. There you see higher and upper, inferior and superior feelings in the society. Right? Children. Now, let us study the features of social stratification. So, this is also very important from exam point of view. You are supposed to keep these things in your mind. So, I have made these features into short forms and write down that things, and if you find any difficulties, don't forget to clarify that questions or doubts from your teachers. Okay, the first feature of social stratification is it is social in nature. So, social stratification is based on the social recognition and importance, not based on the physical traits or physical factors. For example, a person's status in the society is fixed on his social factors or social traits. For example, education, skill, profession, income. These decide his position in the society, status in the society, not his physical trait like his height, his strength and his beauty, right? Okay, children. And the second feature of this social stratification is it is universal. So what do you mean by universal? Yes, children, you are right. Universal means present everywhere. This social stratification is present everywhere in the world. It can be seen in developed countries, in backward countries and also in developing countries. Since from the birth of the human societies, it is present. So, it is found everywhere in the society. So, social stratification is universal. And the third important feature of social stratification is it is ancient. Ancient means it is present in the society since from the olden days. It was present in nomadic society also, where the people used to move from place to place in search of food, right? So, it is ancient. And the last feature of this social stratification is it exists in different ways. Children, social stratification is found everywhere in the world. European countries, African countries, Asian countries. But it is called by different names in different areas. So, it exists in different forms. Say for example, in ancient Roman Empire, there were plebeians and patricians. Take an example of India itself. We had Varna system. 4 Varnas were there in India based on the karma theory. Can anyone of you tell you which are the Varnas? Yes, you are right. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. So, this is how social stratification exists in different ways in the world. So, I said you this is very important from exam point of view. So, prepare, read well these things. The questions may be asked. What are the features of social stratification? List out the features of social stratification. Mention the features of social stratification. In this way, questions may be framed. Well, children, now let us move to one more important learning point of this chapter, and that is major forms of social stratification. So, I said you earlier, this social stratification is present everywhere in the world, but their forms are not similar. They have difference in their structure and nature. So, which are the major forms of social stratification? They are, the first one is primitive society. It is also called as tribal society. And the second major form of social stratification is slavery. So, it was present in America, European countries, right? And even also in ancient India, slavery was present. And the third major form of social stratification is estate system, which was present in the Europe during Middle Ages. The society was divided into clergies, nobles, and common people. And fourth major form of social stratification is Varna system, which was present in, okay, anybody? Yes, where it was present Varna system? It was present in, it was existed in India. So, this Varna system, as I said you earlier, had 4 categories. We shall see that things in the next teaching point, learning point. And the last one is caste system. It is a major form of social stratification. So, these are the major forms of social stratification found in the world, since from the primitive society to the digital world. Children, now let us move to an important topic, that is untouchability, which is considered a social evil. So, what is untouchability? Yes, it means untouched, not touching. In ancient India, there were 2 categories of people, touchables and untouchables. So, touchables were not supposed to touch untouchables. This was the condition, this was the situation in those days. So, how it emerged in India? It emerged in India through Varna system. This Varna system is a social division which is based on the karma theory. What is this karma theory? Karma means work. So, the people are categorized here on the basis of the work they do. So, according to this karma theory, there were 4 categories in the society. There were Brahmanas, who had to study or involve in teaching, and they used to perform pujas and yagnas for the kings. And second category of this Varna system was Kshatriyas. Brahmanas enjoyed the topmost position in the society, and Kshatriyas, they were in the second position. They used to become soldiers and political administrators. The third category was Vaishyas, who involved in business and other professions. And the last one is that Shudras, who had to serve all these upper category people. In spite of this, one more category was present in the society, and they were called as untouchables, and they were called as also Shudras. They were considered as inhumans. Let us study about the problems of untouchability, then only we come to know how it is very cruel practice. The first problem of untouchability is the lowest position in the social strata. The untouchables were kept in the lowest position in the society. They were called as Chandalas. If anyone touched them, they had to undergo purifications many times. If any person touched them, he had to take bath. See the condition of the untouchables, children. And in Malabar, Kerala, the untouchables used to prepare footwears, but they were not supposed to wear them, and the untouchables were expected to carry the night soil, dead animals, and do other filthy jobs in the society. So, they were not allowed to enter into the temples, touch the public well, tanks and cemetery used by the untouchables. This is how they were treated badly in the society. The second important problem of untouchability is they were kept out of the education. For many centuries, they were kept out of the education. They were not supposed to listen to Veda recitation nor recite them also. They were barred from learning Sanskrit. They were not supposed to learn about religious texts. And they were not allowed to mix with touchable children. And children, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who came from a lowest position in the society, he achieved a lot, I said you earlier. And he made the whole world to look at him. How was it possible for him? It was possible for him only through education, education and education. See, education has that power, children. So it made him to look into the issues remaining for social justice. And he fought hard to realize people the importance of education. And he argued in favor of education as a public property. It is public property. Everyone should get education. It is everyone's right. So, these thoughts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, his revolutionary ideas and thoughts, he could come up with more provisions and directives in the draft version of our constitution. So, all these things made him to incorporate some articles which protect the interest of the untouchables. Next important problem of untouchability is denial of property rights. The untouchables were not allowed to own any property. They were expected to only serve their masters. And fourth one and the last problem of untouchability is denial of political participation rights. In the traditional political system, untouchables were not allowed to participate. During the British rule, they were given some rights, that too due to the efforts of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Children, so which are the legal measures taken to eradicate untouchability? So what are the measures taken? Let us see one by one. The first one is that the Article 17 prohibits untouchability. And the second one is that Untouchability Crime Act was introduced in 1955. And the third one is that Civil Rights Protection Act was implemented in the year 1976. It is nothing but some changes were made to the Untouchability Crime Act of 1955 and they were implemented in the year 1976 as Civil Rights Protection Act. And the fourth legal measure is universal rights to untouchables to vote and participate in elections. And the fifth one is reservations has been given in the field of education and employment for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes along with backward classes. And the last thing is that the Act of 1989 has given specific responsibilities for the governments to eradicate untouchability. So, that's all for today, and I have now homework. Take down the homework. So, children, this is all for this day. Prepare well, read well, have a nice day. Thank you.